What's up, Commanders fans? I was just thinking about how us getting Brandon Aiyuk would be a terrible idea. And I thought about it at first, and I was like, yo, no, that would be perfect for Jayden Daniel and his early development. And it would be great and phenomenal, right? He'll have the guy that he threw to in college and a guy that is reliable, just like Terry McLaurin or as great as Jahan Dotson, right? And a guy that's been proven over the last few years that he's been with the 49ers that he can be reliable, he can count on him, he can even show up in the playoffs. So why not get him, right? Seeing that we have the money and we have nothing but space and opportunity for him to be on this team, right? Then I thought about it. I was like, wouldn't we have to give up something very important? Like, draft capital is fine, but they've already declined one of our offers. And who knows what we gave up. But I'm sure it'll come out soon once things, progress. But I'm just wondering if we would have gave up somebody on the team, who would it be? And I've heard a lot of rumors that everybody were trying to get rid of Jahan Dotson. And I'm like, yo, out of all people, Jahan, I think he still has a lot to prove, honestly. And the fact that he wanted a guy like Jayden Daniels to come here, and then as soon as Jayden Daniels gets here, we give him up to somebody else, I think that's the utmost disrespect. And seeing that he was like one of the first wide receivers to come out and talk about who he wanted in the draft as his number one quarterback going into this season, and we just get rid of him, that would just be a slap in the face to me, honestly. And I understand that he wasn't a part of this new regime, but still, like, we owe him that respect to not get rid of a guy like him. So that's one reason why I felt like we shouldn't go after Brandon Aiyuk. And two is because we still haven't seen a lot from Jayden Daniels yet. We still haven't seen how he does in the preseason. We still haven't even seen how he does in the actual season. We haven't even seen at least 5 games from him. We're trying to look better than last year. And of course, I understand going out to get him all his weapons and all the guys he need to make him, great. But I think at this point in time, we do have all the weapons that we need to, allow him to be great. And we just don't have the craziest offensive line just yet. We don't have that chemistry all there together. But I can tell you this. We do have Terry McLaurin. We do have Jahan Dotson. We do have Luke McCaffrey. We got reliable guys, right? It's just about him having to use them. We got to see him do it. We don't know what he's capable of just yet. He hasn't played in the NFL at all. So this is his first time, and it's cool to invest in him, but we're just trying to make a playoff push, right? I don't see us making a Super Bowl push just yet. But, of course, this will be a great time to do it, seeing that he's on a rookie contract for probably the next 4 to 5 years if they decide to pick up his 5th-year option. But think about it. Let's slow down just a little bit. Let's pump the brakes. Let's try to figure out what he can do first before we decide to give him so many weapons. And who knows? Brandon Aiyuk might get here and Jayden Daniels is only throwing it to him in Terry McLaurin's eyes or Jahan Dotson's eyes. And he might get jealous and it might ruin the chemistry that we already built here. And things like that happens. And on top of the guys that we have at the wide receiver position, we also got guys that can catch in the backfield, and guys like Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. Like, those guys have already built this culture already, have already started something for us. And who is Brandon Aiyuk to come in and ruin that just because his best friend is Jayden Daniels, or he feels like he has the best chemistry with Jayden Daniels? Who knows what can happen? So I think that's something that we need to slow down on and really take a step back and see what we have to offer. Because I'm understanding from what Dan Quinn wants out of this team is he want a team that he can build with, and he wants to see how far he can go in this with this team. So if that means just trying to get more wins than we had last year, or if that means trying to make a playoff push, but we know right now we're nowhere near a Super Bowl. But with what we have now, he's still learning, he's still developing. He still has to get through this tough defense that we've already built in this offseason. So with Jeremy Chin back there, Derek Forrest coming back off of injury, or maybe even Quan Martin being the starter, we have Bobby Wagner back there. Bobby is a beast. Don't let his age fool you. He still got it. And then you also got a guy like Frankie Louvu who can do it all. Then you also got a guy like Jamin Davis. Of course, he hasn't shown us the best of the best, but who knows what he can do with Bobby Wagner next to him, with Frankie Louvu next to him. You see what happened when the Baltimore Ravens went out and got Roquan Smith and how that did phenomenal for what's his name? I can't remember his name, but he left, and Patrick Queen, there you go. And they did phenomenal for him being there. That did amazing, and it allowed him to go up and get a top contract at that middle linebacker position. And it even allowed him to move up from being an outside linebacker to a middle linebacker. And now he plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that allowed him to get the contract that he wanted. And think about what that can do for Jamin Davis, seeing that it's almost time for him to get his contract, seeing that we didn't pick up his fifth-year option. So I'm just excited for what Jayden has to go through this preseason, this offseason. Like, he has a lot ahead of himself, and seeing that we want him to be that guy come week one against the Buccaneers, against Baker Mayfield, we want him to be prepared as possible. And for him to go up against a tough defense like this is everything you need. And, of course, our cornerbacks are not looking the best, but it's still some guys that can go out there and play. And one of those guys that has been proven over the last few years with the Chargers is Michael Davis. Of course, he's underestimated, but this is a guy that at one point in time, he had a lot of pass deflections. He had a lot of interceptions. And just because he hasn't, made it to the Pro Bowl don't mean he can't do it. And, of course, he got close one year. He had 3 interceptions one year, and he had a lot of pass deflections. But the thing is, he's a guy that's been proven, and he can give teams some go. So he can give Jayden Daniels some go. And not just him, but Benjamin St-Juste. Not just him, but Emmanuel Forbes. Don't underestimate Emmanuel Forbes. Even though he didn't have the best rookie season, it could have been because of coaching. It could have been because he had so much weight on him being a first-round draft pick that he thought he had to go out there and prove himself and always go for the big plays. And, of course, things like that happen. But he has a second year. He has a second regime. He has a different group around him that's going to set him up to be successful. And it don't get no better than this, Emmanuel Forbes. So you got to take advantage. And then he has competition in his room with Michael Sanderstill. So I could say Mike Sanderstill. With him, I think he's going to push Emmanuel Forbes, because if it's not this year, then it's it for Emmanuel Forbes, because this is a new regime. These guys don't owe you anything. And Mike Sanderstill, he's coming to take the throne. He wants a position. And right now it already looked like he's going to be a slot cornerback. And I seen his name there before, before we get started with training camp. I seen that he's there, and it looks like it's going to be his position. So that's going to be something that he has to worry about. He has a guy that's going to give him some go, and he has to be on his P's and Q's. And then the fact that Mike Sanderstill is going out and getting trained by none other than Darryl Green is giving you everything you need to know. So this is a tough defense. And then obviously we have Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen still there. And then we got We got guys that we got from the Cowboys, like Dorrance Armstrong. Dorrance Armstrong, he's coming to take the throne for the defensive end position. And right now it's already looking like he's going to be a starter. And hopefully there's no injuries with anybody. Of course that doesn't happen, but it happens. But we want him to take the throne. We want him to take that opportunity and take advantage of it. Because, when he was with the Cowboys, he had a little bit of starts. And that boy had a lot of sacks. So I'm excited to see what he does when he's a starter. And now that he's going to be a starter, I feel like he's going to earn that position. He's going to get it. And then you got to worry about him. He's hungry. Then you got Cleveland Farrell. He's hungry. And then you got Dante Fowler. He's hungry. These are guys that are hungry on our defensive end position. And then think about what they can bring to our new rookies that came in last year. Andre Jones. And then our other rookie, KJ Henry. So imagine what that does for them. These guys are hungry. And then they were rookies last year, so they didn't even get a chance to do anything. Imagine what they want to do this year. They want to earn that starting position, seeing that we don't have Chase Young or we don't have Montez Sweat. Imagine what that's doing to that defense. And then Dan Quinn being the top defensive mind that he is, and then with Joe Witt Jr., think about what those guys have done over the last few years, and then imagine what they're going to do with Ken Norton being back there. And then imagine what the chemistry they have and the mindset they have. They've done this before. They've been a top defense, and we need a guy like Dan Quinn and the guys I just named because we were the worst defense in the league last year. And now we're trying to be the best defense in the league. We're trying to make it to the playoffs. And, of course, offenses win games. And, we can make it to the playoffs with a great offense, but it wouldn't be anything without a great defense. So I'm excited to see what we can do for not just our defense, but what the defense can do for Jayden Daniels. Because it's not just the offense that's going to benefit him. It's not just him having a reliable tight end like Zach Ertz and him having a quarterback coach like Cliff Kingsbury. It's not just that, or offensive coordinator like Cliff Kingsbury. He's more than just that. And then on top of that, he has to get that from everybody on the team. And that a Super Bowl team comes from chemistry. It comes from people who want to work hard, people who want to give it all they got. And it comes from a team that understand what their weaknesses are and they work at it. So I think we have found a way to solve the problems that we needed to solve. And I think right now we need to pump the brakes on a Brandon Aiyuk and maybe go out and get a guy on the other side of the team, other side of the playing field, defense. We need to go out and get a guy like, before it's too late, go ahead and get a guy like Stephon Gilmore, because he's trained, he's ready, he's been in the league for a long time, and he is somebody that we need to have on our defense for our cornerbacks, our young cornerbacks at that. And of course, Michael Davis has been in the league for a while, but in comparison to Stephon Gilmore, he's young. And we need a guy like that to boost our confidence in this defense. And of course, I think that is the only weakness we have on defense. The weaknesses we have on offense, we know it's on the offensive line. And we just have to see what happens this preseason and how Jayden Daniels is able to adapt to it and what schemes Cliff Kingsbury can come up with to help him not be sacked 60 times this season, just like Sam Howell was last season. So, and we all know how elusive Jayden Daniels can be, seeing that he went off last season with 1,000 yards with LSU. Imagine what he can do with us. And, LSU was a lot of protection for him. And in everybody's eyes, that could be a little different but it can also be the same. So like the best offensive line in college could be like the worst offensive line in the NFL. So in a way, you can think of it as it's a little similar, but we don't know just yet. And of course, he had so much protection that he had time to get the ball out of his hand. He had time to make the plays that he needed. But now, guys are faster, hungrier, and guys got bills to pay. So we gonna see what we can do, and I'm excited to see what we do this preseason. I'm excited to see what we do in these joint practices. I'm excited to see what we do in this training camp. And let me know how y'all feel about it. Definitely subscribe to the channel, and I am out.